Kolat Club Deck Forging. I'm Ryan Rockett, your host today, and we are going to be jumping into deck creation for a new kind of lion deck out there, the Seeker of Void. I want to go through a couple of housekeeping bits before we jump into the deck creation. However, today I'm going to be discussing a few more interesting things, a little bit outside of the box of what probably is the normal Seeker deck. I don't even know if there is an established one yet, but we'll see. Also, just so you all know, upcoming events that I'm going to be at, I'm going to be at Worlds this year, coming up in November. Additionally, I will also be at PAX Unplugged, so when you see me, go ahead and come on up, say hey, I love making new friends. Additionally, we have brand new art and logos, all custom designed for the channel. So big shout out to everyone involved, big thank you. And we're going to have a lot more big announcements coming up for our streams of big events and things like that. Want to give a big announcement, however, not announcement I guess, but more of a community shout out to the Red Cross. Want to make sure that everybody is keeping this in mind. We're going to put a link down below, but a lot of people out there are suffering the effects of Hurricane Florence and the tropical storm thereafter. So if you guys have the ability or feel that you want to try to help out a little bit, we here at the Kolat Club strongly recommend it, and would love to be able to say thank you. If you guys donate, go ahead and leave it a comment down below, or even if you don't, if you have any thing to say about the video, any questions, concerns, please leave it in a comment down below. I'm going to be putting a deck list into the description, and we'll be going from there. So if you need anything else, just drop it down in the comments. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel so you stay up to date with all future deck forging videos. So let's go ahead and jump into it. As I said, we're going to be doing a lion deck today. So of the two strongholds, I think the one that fits the Seeker build a little bit better. It's a little bit more offensive. For this style of deck, it's really what I'm going to be pushing. Is more of a blitzy based build, and one that tries to negate a lot of the swinginess of certain provinces in the game on the level. So we're going to use the Uber Blitz Stronghold, and like I said, we're going to be building a Seeker of Void today. So let's go ahead, and we're going to start with the easy deck, the Dynasty deck. In my opinion, the thing about the Dynasty deck that we should keep in mind is that we want it to be as low cost as possible, because we just want to pump out as many guys as we can. We're going to be sacking one, hopefully every turn to trigger the box. You want to have as many military attacks as you can get out. Now, I'm also going to point out that the whole deck is based around one card. Not really based around, but you want to push this one card as much as possible. And that is going to be Pathfinders Blade. We have 3 copies of this in the deck. It is a weapon, and it's Seeker role only. Being free and giving you the +1 force, very nice, but it's really the ability. The ability to stop provinces from going on. Now, you only have 3 of this in your deck, you say. How are you supposed to use it so much? Well, to base a deck around it, you're going to need to do a few things, which Lion, strangely, have the best ability in doing. And the first one I'm going to say is going to be Ancestral Armory, recurring that from the discard pile. You're able to not only play it for free, then use it. You're then able to pop it back into your hand and play it on a different character and use it again because it's a new instance of the card because it entered your hand. I think this is very strong in combination with Pathfinder's Blade. I would, in all honesty, run 3 of this, just so you make sure to see it at least once or twice during the course of a game. So, we're going to run 3 of that card. We're going to start with the holdings and move on from there. I believe Favorable Ground is a card that every deck needs at least 2 of. And it's a very good way of negating Send Home, to be able to eject characters out of combat, and with Hawk Tattoo as prevalent as it's been, and as powerful as it is, it's probably a very good idea to have a few in your deck. So we're going to add 2. Lastly, we're going to put 2 more holdings in the deck. We're going to add 1 Staging Ground. The idea of blitzing with this is going to be very good. In addition, you're going to have lots of low-cost characters that you're going to be attempting to put into play very quickly. And finally, the Imperial Palace. This card is just very swingy and can really offset a game if your opponent gets it and you don't. So I would recommend running at least the only copy you can run. I would say you almost need to run this card. So, now we're going to go back and we're going to look at the characters that we're going to be able to use. We're going to start with the Akodo Gunsō. I believe this character is very strong for several reasons. One, just his stat line is pretty decent, and he's a Bushi, so he works with the Stronghold. He refills your province base up, which lets you push that idea of blitz in stronger military swings faster. And they also have pride. So, when you win the military conflict by more than 5, like you're aiming to do to trigger the Stronghold, this character would honor, and then you could sack them to immediately gain 1 honor and trigger the Stronghold. You might think that's not that strong now, but when you're facing off against Scorpion or any other type of dishonor deck, it's going to be very helpful to try to keep yourself above water. Those nickel and dimes are pretty bad. So we're going to add 3 copies of the Akodo Gunsō into the deck. Now, in my last video, in making my Lion Keeper deck that's based on Dishonor, I said that normally I like having only 2 copies of each unique in a deck. They're good, you can always play them on top of another one. But in a deck like this, the idea is quantity with quality. So while you do want strong characters, you need lots of them. It's similar to the Unicorn deck, but not quite the same, where your number is more of how big you beat it by, and theirs is designed by how many guys you beat it by. I apologize about that. I'm getting a little thirsty, so I'm talking a lot during these videos. So now, we have an Akodo Gunsō. Akodo Toshiro is pretty good for this. You're able to trigger the box with him pretty much by himself if he swings unopposed, which then lets you get multiple military conflicts off. So I actually do run 2 copies of him, because he's not only good for the Stronghold, but he can trigger Fallen in battle, which is a strong card to combo that with. So, we're going to then move down to the Deathseeker. Again, most of the characters in this deck are going to be 2 cost or lower. The only characters that are above it are the the Spirit Caller, or the Kitsu Spirit Caller, and the Lion's Pride Brawler, along with Honored General, just because his buff to a big swarm-based army is very strong. But a Deathseeker is very good out of this style of deck, because if they want to win, you're going to trigger essentially the Void Ring, which is really good. And then if they don't have Fate on them, it's a nuke. In addition, if they let you win, you're going to be triggering the ring. And then, if they let you win by more than 5, you're not only triggering the ring, but you're also going to be triggering the Stronghold. So I think the Deathseeker gives you a huge variety of options when you're swinging in. The only real thing they can do is tie you. Like 0 to 0, that's the only thing they're going to really be able to do to get the Deathseeker to not work. So Send Home, which not a lot of people run tons of, is the answer. But we're going to add 2 Deathseekers into the deck. I don't think they're amazing, but I think they are good. So that's why I only run 2. Gifted Tactician not only works with Toshiro, but also is just strong because as you're trying to win your military conflicts, you're able to draw cards with them. This, in my opinion, is a 3 of. In addition, he's also a Bushi, so it makes him able to be sacrificed off the Stronghold. If you're running a strictly, not putting fate on guys and just trying to empty your provinces every turn, stay ahead of your opponent, if you keep a certain level of pressure on, never let your opponent balance out or establish themselves, this deck can run away with games. I've seen it a couple of times and it's really fun. It's just kind of difficult to do anything against. Next up, we have the Honored General. Like I was saying earlier, he might be the most expensive non-unique character in the deck. However, his ability to give everyone else +1 is very good, and it helps establish your box triggers. So, honestly, Honored General is a 3 of. He goes into the deck super hard. This might be the only pure courtier that makes it into the deck, and strictly because he has Covert, and he lets you draw a card and honor a guy. He's just too good to not run. Plus, when your opponent stacks super hard on military, you are giving them you have to think twice when you go that hard, because otherwise I have this guy that's just going to sleaze out political against you. So it's a very strong balance to your deck. So we're going to add 2 of him into the deck. He's not quite a 3 of because his stat is not insane. So the first character he really needs to honor is himself. Now, Sonari, I think that's how you say her name, is awesome. She fits this deck like a glove. Her ability helps trigger the Stronghold, helps trigger Fallen in battle, and almost everything you're running is a Bushi. So, very easy, and she's cheap. I know she's Assassinate bait, and that's why I run 3 of her. Because then, if they keep they only have 3 Assassinates in the deck. If they're only using them on her, then fine. That's kind of my thought. Now, we come to Ujaku. Or, I don't know how, Ujaki? I don't know. However you say his name. Let me know if there's a phonetic way to say it down in the comments below, and I will do my best to learn. I'm always up to learn. So, this character is just stat for stat very strong. Has 2 great keywords and a phenomenal blitz action. I would honestly run 3 of him. He's going to help push out huge characters like Honored Generals or Lion's Pride Brawlers into battles where they normally would be a hindrance to your buying curve and trying to push out so many characters. So, we're going to move straight down to the Spirit Caller. This card is great because you can Spirit Call Ujaku into play and hit 2 guys in for 3 guys for 1. So you're hitting on, you're hoping you're going to hit a 4, a 3, and you're getting Ujaku for 5. So for 3, you're getting an extra 9 fate worth of guys in a singular fight. And that's if you don't put fate on her. After that, it keeps growing. I almost feel you'd have to be silly to not want to run or to not run this card. Just very strong. So, we're going to go ahead and put 3 of her right on it. Now, this is a card I keep wanting to run, and if this were a charge deck instead of a Pathfinders Blade deck, I would. I just wanted to point it out that I love this art. This might be some of my favorite art in the game today, so just wanted to make a shout out for that card. Now, this card is obscene, and in all honesty, probably should not be as strong as it is. I'll openly admit that, but it is, and we need to run it. To be competitive, Lion have to run this card, because unfortunately, due to, I believe, this card, we have not received the same power level of cards as other clans. And I, again, believe it's in large part to this character. So, we've added 3 Lion's Pride Brawlers. Now, we have 6 cards left for the deck. I would probably run Matsu Berserker. 1 for 3 is just great stats. And so, now we have 3 slots left. This card is pretty good. It lets you bid 1 less each time, unless you think your opponent's going to bid 1. But it makes your opponent want to bid less as well. Also, 1 for 0-1 Bushi. Pretty good. So, I would run 3 copies of Tactician's Apprentice. This is the Dynasty side of my conflict, or of my Lion Seeker deck, excuse me. I don't know why my brain just like skipped a beat there. And excuse me again while I take a drink. Mango goodness. Anyway, so, I'm sure you cared, right? We're going to go ahead and move on to the conflict deck, which we've already had 3 cards in. So we're going to remove the deck. We're going to select conflict. We're going to go to clan. We want crab cards. We want lion cards. I don't know why it does that fill-in section there, but every now and again it just decides it wants to be silly. And we're going to put neutral. So, we're running a weapon and blitz deck. Seems pretty good, right? Legion of 1 allows you to swing 1 guy in, and it allows you to get huge for reducing the number of turns you would be in play. Now, hear me out. I'm only running 2 of it because of the amount of other force pump we have in the deck that is not required to be by yourself. And when you're running a deck like this, in which you want to just be blitzing out characters, you really, really want to have more than 1 guy in each fight. Well, more than 1 character, excuse me, in each fight. I think that's very important. I think that tempo is probably the biggest thing this deck needs. And I do run 3 copies of Bonsai in the deck. So that's 5 force pumps conflict side. That's pretty big so far. And that's 4 cards down from the top of the list. Now, assassination can make a huge game swing when played correctly. Sometimes playing them is a detriment, and you have to know your opponent's deck before you play it, because you don't want to walk into a dishonor trap. I do, however, believe that 1 per game is not going to normally lose it for you, and having 2 in your deck is very vital to be able to deal with certain problem characters. So, we're going to move down to court games. I believe court games is still a 3 of them in every deck. Even if you're not attacking political, you can use it on defense without having a character there, and make them dishonor a character. And that really affects certain clans. or it hinders certain clans from being able to play their cancels, things like that, because their courtiers are already dishonored, like Scorpion. I'm going to put 3 of this into the deck. I think it's a strong card, and have no reason to not want to run it. Now, I've mentioned this card a few times, Fallen in Battle. Since it has the same trigger as your Stronghold, win by 5 or more, it's a very good card to run, and not everybody sees it coming. Now, out of this Stronghold, I believe they will see it coming. So you're not going to really catch people by surprise. However, you still will make them think about it. And playing it once at an event will make every opponent you have from that game forward remember, oh, if I let him win by more than 5, it better be unopposed, otherwise my guy with Fate is getting nuked. Or it'll make them overspend in a conflict defense, or even offense, to make sure that you aren't winning by 5 or more. We're going to add 2 of this card into the deck. Again, I think it's very strong. Out of HMT. Fine Katana. This is a weapon, and that's the main reason I think running it is necessary. It's more or less an event. This is a weaker copy of Bonsai, but you're going to be able to recur it using Ancestral Armory if you're not hitting Pathfinders Blades. So, we're going to add 3 Fine Katanas. Now, Goblin Sneak combos extremely well with a Legion of 1, because you can play the Goblin Sneak and put the Fate on him from your opponent's Fate pool, and then immediately spin the Fate on him to Legion of 1. And all of a sudden, you have a Province Breaker by himself. That's pretty solid. So, we are going to add 2 copies of Goblin Sneak to the deck, because we only have 2 copies of Legion of 1. Let's move on down. Hiruma Skirmisher is a very good card, especially for the deck we're building here. He's 1 cost, but his ability to blitz is the reason that he's so strong. He's going to tell an opponent's character that they don't get to come play, which gives you a higher likelihood of triggering a Stronghold. I think that he's a 3 of, and makes up a good portion of your influence. Look, your influence is all spent. Now, Ikoma Reservist is going to be solid out of a deck like this. You go for one of these 2 rings first, and then you're playing a 1-for-3 military personality. 1-for-3 military character out of HMT on a 2nd military attack. Very good. And cards that dishonor don't really affect him. So we're going to go ahead and add 3 of them into the deck. Now, at this point, we have 8 conflict characters. We have 26 conflict cards. So we're getting pretty deep into the deck. This card is a very beastly card and can really hurt opponent characters. You save it for someone like a Shoju or some, Kachiko, something like that. But I understand 2 cost is very expensive. However, I am going to give you another reason to run this card, but I would only run 2. This makes up our weapons suite for the deck. We have 8 weapons that we're going to run. The thing that makes these weapons, in my opinion, pretty reliable is Time of War. This is a Seeker card, and it punishes your opponent for swinging political. You should outnumber the number of conflict opportunities, I had to think of the right wording there, excuse me, that your opponent has. Therefore, you should be able to get their political conflict off before your final military conflict. which gives you the ability to play that card back from your hand or from your discard pile. And this is less than 3, so you're good to go. I would, however, only run 2 copies of Time of War. Alright, that takes us right on up to 30 cards. We're going to go back on over to here to take a look at what else we have. All these cards here are very strong. Unfortunately, Ornate Fan is an item and not a weapon, so we're not going to run it. I know that sounds crazy, but we're going to focus heavily into military. Almost only doing political when you have Ikoma Dad puns. Who is this character? He's like my favorite character. Which isn't true. Kage will be, or Cage, I don't know however you say his name. You guys let me know in the comments down below on how to say the lion character in the upcoming Scorpion Pack's name. Please, I love to learn. When you aren't really doing political, what you're going to sometimes do is just pass your first conflict opportunity. Let your opponent go ahead and expend their resources, and then you're going to swing military back to back. It doesn't seem like that strong of a play, but sometimes it can set your opponent up to not want to swing at all, because they know you're going to have just a vital number on them. So, let's go right back in over here. And we've already added in Pathfinders Blade. It was the first card we added in. It is probably the craziest card in the deck, and is the main reason that we're able to build it. So, Ready for Battle seems like a great card. It stops a ring effect, it stops a lot of actions. So we're going to go ahead and run 2 of it. Now if we have space, this will go up to a 3, but in every lion deck, will run 2 at the very minimum. We're going to move down, and now we're going to get our 1 battle action. The big one that we're going to use to send guys home in the final conflict when we're trying to win and we're using it as a kill action essentially. Strength in numbers. So many characters won't have the glory equal to the number of guys you have, or they won't have more at the very least. So this card is very good, especially in that final battle when you're trying to just swarm with an overwhelming number. Honestly, this card is going to be very strong out of the Unicorn Stronghold. So we'll see how that goes after some time. Finally, we have Way of the Lion. This card is great. Doubling base strength of anyone who is a 3 is very, very strong. So we're going to go ahead and give 3 copies. Now, we have 2 cards left for the deck. And 2 characters left that we can slot in. I like to punish. No matter what conflict you're going to be punished for winning. Winning is bad against a lion deck. Isn't that weird to think about? So, I would say these last 2 card slots are whatever you feel would work best for your style. For me, we're going to go with Vengeful Oathkeeper. He fits into that, oh, you did not want to win there style that I enjoy playing. He maxes out the number of conflict characters we have. And now, we're going to go ahead and move on to our provinces. We're stacked up everywhere but there. So, let's remove this. Remove Crab, because we can't use their provinces, sadly. And we're going to go to provinces. This can be a very difficult set of choices for people. So I'm going to start with the ones that I would say are automatic. I like Fertile Fields as the air province. Card draw out of Lion is very, very good. You're playing a lot of cheap guys, and you're not putting a ton of fate out there. So what you're going to be able to do is sack them to your Stronghold, so you don't need to put fate on them. And then you're saving fate that way. You're also taking fate off rings more often because you're getting more attacks. Sometimes it's going to be weird when no rings have fate on them because you and your opponent took them all the turn before. That will occur. So we're going to add Fertile Fields as our first province. You're playing a blitz deck, so your goal is to make sure your opponent cannot keep up. Public Forum is a great card for that, because it's going to mean that this province is going to take 2 swings to break. Very strong. Out of Dragon, I think this card's really dumb with the character that flips them face down again, because if your opponent put 1 honor on it the turn before, and then you play that character and flip it face down again, it's 3 turns worth. And swinging into Dragon provinces is never good. They're all really bad, to be very honest. And Art of War. So, now we're down to the Void provinces. Weird, right? That's the hard choice here, because when looking at them, Shameful Display is an amazing province. And you have a ton of pretty decent characters to chump in the way to hit a Shameful Display. So this is one option. But today we're going to do something a little bit more outside the box and play a little differently than what I would say the more standard way of playing is, which would be Shameful and then Pilgrimage on your Stronghold. Today I'm going to say that I want to use Raging Battlefield as my Stronghold province. By the time they swing into your Stronghold, there should be a non-unique character with no fate on them. When people think they're going to win, they'll play characters and not put fate on them sometimes. So, this is a great card to say, well, you didn't invest in the long term enough. Again, this is just for an outside-of-the-box take on the deck. But I would go with Raging Battlefield. Now, you want really outside the box. I want to put Appealing to the Fortunes on one of my provinces. It's 5 strength, so it's not easy to break. And then when they do break it, I'm going to get a free character into play. And this is going to help me play my 5 cost and my 4 cost without paying the hard fate for them. If you're able to get him into play off this with the favor already, you're going to be just crunching a province for free. Well, it's a direct counter swing to breaking this province. It's going to help you stay ahead tempo-wise, which is what the Blitz deck requires. So, this would be the final province I would put in. And again, this is just me doing an outside-of-the-box build. A more standard build would be Shameful Display with Pilgrimage, and that is a great way of doing it. Any of these 4 cards works very well in this deck. I would say that if you're staying completely within the theme of the deck, that Appealing to the Fortunes is actually one of the more appealing cards. I know that's kind of funny. And if you really want to keep that character around, what you can do is switch from a Pathfinders Blade build to a For Greater Glory build, and then you swing with Ujaku and 2 other Bushi and put Fate on all of them. Seems pretty solid. Those are 2 ways of playing it. This is my outside-of-the-box Lion Seeker weapon deck. I'm going to be adding the link, or not the link, but the deck list down below, so everyone will have a copy if you want to go ahead and play it. It should be a fun deck. Let's go ahead and come back over here. I want to say thank you for tuning in with us today. Again, we are recommending or asking anyone who's able to donate to Red Cross for Hurricane Florence relief. And a big shout out to everybody out there who is already doing their part, and if there's anything anyone in the community needs, always feel free to reach out. We're one big family, and we should all remember that. We are all, one people, so let's keep that in mind and try to help out your fellow samurai in Ashigaru. My name is Ryan Rockett, and I'm with the Kolat Club. Please remember, we're going to be trying to put up training ground videos tomorrow and Thursday, so stay tuned for those. And additionally, we'll be working on Roku Talks every other Wednesday, hopefully starting next week. If you have any video requests or comments, please leave them in the comments down below. And feel free to email us your questions for the Roku Talks or any video requests that you would like that you don't really want to be public. Feel free to send those over to kolatclub@gmail.com. We're going to be posting links for everything down below. Thank you.